All right, good afternoon, folks. Back with another 3S code update on Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. First and foremost, I hope everybody stays safe and healthy out there in the world. Want to give you our weekly update here using the 3S code on the S&P, crude oil, other markets, and our continuation to show you that it does work in any markets, even in these extreme market environments. So we've had some really good trades over the last several days. And you can see here today we did roughly 30 ticks or $300 a contract there on crude oil. This is based on a 5-minute contract. 38 points today in the S&P, had 20 points yesterday, and 100 points or $1,000 per contract in crude yesterday. Closing out March, huge month, biggest month yet by far, for obvious reasons with the huge expanded ranges and big volatility. So lots of points to be had. We went on a very nice run there in the S&P, as well as several days of no trades there in crude on a 5-minute. But as I've been showing you, if you're not seeing enough action for your liking, you can always drill down to the 233 tick or even down to the 1-minute if you like. Let's take a look at what happened today. We had a couple of trades here, and they were kind of back to back. So we'll just start with the first one here. Again, I'm not trading here in the European session. We had one right here about an hour after the New York cash open. And if you've been following any of the videos, you'll know that I do not trade in the 200-day moving average. But what I will do is watch that area to see how price reacts. As you see, we did get rejected right there, and oftentimes it does act as its expected resistance, and it will trade into it and then fall back down. But here we kind of held, and then we had a large push up here, and then we came back to retest. So you don't get as favorable as an entry point as you would say down here at the 75 area. After this area did break and hold and retested, you were able to get in around 83, 84. And this was an area of price structure giving us an indication to go ahead and get long. It went immediately up there from 83, 84 up to the TP1 projected target level of around 25, 24, 25, 25, and then reversed. And that actually ended up being a session high. So we started a new 1, 2, 3 top count. So we had a 1, 2, 3. And notice here that when price broke below the number 2, as indicated by the chevron signal, the averages were still far spread apart, have not crossed, so we do not take that trade. We will take the trade if we hook back up and down through after the averages have crossed. But notice what we have here, that pesky 200-day moving average lurking right here, which would again typically void us taking the trade into now 200-day support. So it was 200-day resistance here, now 200-day support here, but we finally break down. We get a couple of retests, and we finally start breaking down there below 24.87. Our target was 24 double nickel. We actually only went down to 56 half, so we missed it there by just about a point or so. So we had our stops down to break even, eventually getting stopped out. But that was a trade that was in roughly 30 points or $1,500 per contract at some point during the life of the trade. Let's look at yesterday's price action. We only had one trade yesterday on the 5-minute chart, and that was right around here at the 9 o'clock session again. So you can see right there in the early morning session. This was the bar that broke above the number 2. Of course, we don't take that trade. Averages haven't crossed. We do like to see the close above, but the averages haven't crossed yet. But as we got back over here, the averages have already crossed, so you could have taken that trade since that's more than a second pass. We also have a couple of retests here, getting us long here at the 24.90 area, taking us all the way up to 25.10. So it's about a 20-point trade there on the E-mini S&P, and then we turned around and traded to the downside and didn't get really anything else. We did have this one set up after lunch, but it did not meet our criteria, and we had plenty of profits there before we even hit lunchtime. Let's go over to crude oil and take a look at crude markets. And looking at today's action, of course, we had a huge volatile day here on crude with the news release, but notice that We had a nice, easy, clean, simple textbook trade here right before the news came out. Short trade here at 22.15, taking us down to 21.80. So a nice 35 tick trade there. Notice it happened, it turned right there at the TP1. You can see 200-day support lurking down there below. And then we had a potential setup here later on in the morning. Huge range. You need to stay away from these. They're typically a little bit more dangerous, but it did trigger. We wouldn't have taken this initial trade. The averages are spread apart here. Plus, we had this huge, we wouldn't take this after the huge move. But you did get the second attempt rolling back down here below 24 double nickel. Came down to 23.45. So we came down from 24.55 down to 23.40. So over a $1 move or $1,000 per contract there if you were to have taken that trade before it reversed and ended up being roughly a break-even trade or small loser. Going to yesterday's action, remember on Wednesdays we had EIA petroleum report news, so always exercise caution around that. We had an early morning trade here at 7 o'clock, broke down below, gave a couple of retests here at 24.40, came back up, hugged the area, came down to 20.04, so it moved from 20.40 down to $20 for 40 cents. Again, reversing here at the TP1 area. We get another trade here, 1, 2, 3. We're above the 200-day moving average. We come back and retest and hook back above at the 2050 area, takes some heat, comes up and takes us out at first profit target at 21.10 and reverses right there at TP1 again for a nice 60-cent trade or $600 per contract. Let's look at a couple other markets here. Look at a couple of the currencies which were on the move today, selling off quite hard. Take a look at the 5-minute euro currency trade. Had a potential trade there at 9:30 if you're working buy stops there as those averages are crossing. Otherwise, it rolled back down, was stopped out. Potential long here in the last hour of the day. Go to 6J, the Japanese yen, and we had a trade here right around the cash market open again, coming down in 200-day. Want to make sure you get solid closes below and a couple of retests for confirmation. Again, you're not going to get as best of an entry as you would up here. So it is a more aggressive trade, but it comes down, reaches TP1, TP2, continues to fall, and then a late long trade here in the afternoon session around 92.90, and typically close that out at the end of the day, so roughly about a break-even trade there. So that's how I'm trading the 3S code. Again, nothing has changed since we've been trading it, nor since the numerous videos we've been providing over the last several weeks there on YouTube. So if you like this analysis, would like to see more updates, give us a like, provide your comments, and look forward to seeing you on the next update. Take care.